Hey guys, it's me and Annabelle. Hey, I wanted to jump on and share a story with you that I hope is fun and encouraging. I was thinking about this story because in light of it being a leap year this year, God's funny and good. And this is a story that brings both of those things together. Sorry, the sun is so crazy right now. Many, many years ago, in a land far away, I was a missionary in a small town in southern Illinois for about 6 years. And I moved down there right after college. Oh, done skis. I'm just done with all of this. You have to lay down someplace. You'd think it'd be helpful to talk to her, but she's deaf and she can't hear anything. Where was I? So I lived in a small town in southern Illinois. I moved down there and I was part of a youth ministry for a couple years, and that's how I paid my bills. The ministry paid me. And then I stayed for another couple of years and I worked through AmeriCorps because so much of what we did was volunteering. And so that's how I paid my bills for 2 years. And after 4 years in total, the group of us who were there, we just felt like we didn't want to do AmeriCorps again and trust God. Like, if he wanted us to be there, then we were going to trust him to provide for each of us. And honestly, he provided for each person on our team of about 10 people completely different ways. And so I was the last person standing who had no support. So a lot of times missionaries will invite people to partner with them and help support them financially. And I didn't feel led to do that. I just felt like I was supposed to trust God and that he would show up if he's real and good. And if he had really led me to stay there and just love on people for him. My last paycheck from AmeriCorps was going to be at the end of February, and it was a leap year. And so one of our directors, she was super kind and helping she's like Mama Bear. Sharon came to me, I remember, like probably a couple days before the end of the month, like, oh, Sarah, okay, so do you have a plan for like what you're gonna do financially if this money doesn't show up in a few days that you need to survive for the next month? And actually, my ministry, they were like my family, and they were so kind. And even Sharon was like, look, we can help like cover some of your basic bills until maybe we can find more supporters or something. I really believe God's real, and I really believe he's good, and I really believe he wants me here. And I think if all of those things are true, something has to happen. And I was probably partially excited to see what was going to happen, and also kind of terrified of like, I might look like an idiot here in a few days if God doesn't show up. So I remember going up to my room that night, February 28th, the day before leap year day. I went up to my room and I sat in this chair that I had in my room. And I just sat down and I just had a conversation with God. I was like, well, it's getting pretty close there. And I remember closing my eyes, and God speaks to me a lot in pictures. So I had this picture in my mind, it's like a daydream, of me standing on the top of a grassy hill. And I look up into the sky and I see someone approaching in a red hot air balloon. And it's Jesus. And Jesus comes down. He's like, hop in the balloon, Sarah. So I hop in the balloon. He's like, here we go. So we take off and we start flying over all of these fields. And the fields are covered with cows. And Jesus in his hot air balloon says, Sarah, you need to call in your cattle. And so I was reminded of the verse in the Bible that says the Lord owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. Like, he just has limitless provision. And so I sat in my room on my chair, and at the probably not at the top of my lungs, but pretty loud. I just cried out, "Sweet!" which is how you call pigs, apparently, but I'm not a farmer, so I don't know those things. It was the only thing I had to grasp for, so I called it out. The next day, I go to our center that we all worked at, and we have somebody show up at the center, and he is a farmer from upstate Illinois, and he's come down to deliver a couple of checks from a church whose youth group had come to do a mission trip with us the summer before. And the church just loved the community and wanted to sow into it and wanted to sow into our ministry. And so they had gathered some money, and the checks that they had sent never made it to us. And so this man actually drove, I don't know, like 5 hours or so to hand deliver the checks to make sure they'd get to us. And he invites us all out to lunch. He's sitting there talking about how God speaks to him in dreams. And he looks at us and he's like, could you guys use a cow? Like, I have a farmer friend. We could get a cow and donate it. And we were doing meals for the community every Friday night. So having like a lot of meat would be amazing because we could feed a lot of people with that. And so he's like, yeah, I'm gonna get you guys a cow. So immediately in my mind, I've already had this picture with God calling in my cattle. I'm like, are you gonna give me a real cow, God? That's awesome. So we have lunch and finish, and then end up going back to the center, and the man pulls me aside and he says, Sarah, so Sharon tells me that you need somebody, like you need a supporter. He's like, I don't even know exactly what we do, but I'd like to be yours. And I said, that would be amazing. So this man actually ended up becoming like more than a friend to our missionary team. He became family, and he supported me to be in Cairo full time for 2 years. So God provided. Like the next day, and that was a leap year day, I had my full support for the next 2 years it would come to be, let alone countless blessings just as family with this precious person. But what's funny is that this man did bring down a cow a few weeks later, and we are in the kitchen of the center unpacking all of this meat fresh from the farm, you know. And he's like, oh, are you guys okay? Because actually I had him throw in some bacon, some pork, and a whole bunch of pig products, which I thought, well, that's handy since I did call in a pig when I meant to call in a cow. And I just thought that was hilarious because God has a sense of humor. Anyway, I wanted to share that because it's a crazy, funny story of how God just works and speaks and shows up, and I know that He wants to do that for everybody. The truth is, I didn't just want to encourage you, and nor did I just want to celebrate the fact that it is, of course, a leap year, but I needed to hear the story again, and sometimes that's just how it goes, right? And just tuck those little testimonies back when you come into seasons where you're like, what in the world is happening? And Jesus, where did you go? And then you recall the fact that, oh yeah, He is faithful and He's good. And He's even funny about it sometimes. Anyway, be blessed and call in some cattle. You might get some bacon out of it.